Yesterday, the world witnessed the inauguration of a man whose ideology fundamentally opposes the principles upon which the European Union was founded. Trump's rise to power has reignited fears across Europe and the world, as his rhetoric and policies embody values that threaten the EU's foundational commitments to democracy, human rights, and international cooperation. European leaders must recognize this moment for what it is, a defining test of their resolve. The EU cannot selectively defend its values when it is convenient. It is precisely during moments like this, when standing firm comes with a cost, that those values matter most. Resistance is necessary because our history demands it. Irish politician Aaron delivered an impassioned response to Trump's inauguration, one that should resonate with anyone who believes in the principles of democracy and equality. He didn't mince words. Aaron expressed disgust at Trump's ideology and warned of the dangers of pandering to such a figure. He called out not only Trump but also those within Europe who have been complicit in enabling his influence, from tech leaders undermining EU regulations to Irish businesses promoting Trump-branded golf resorts in County Clare. Aaron's speech was a clarion call for solidarity, particularly among marginalized groups. He argued that so-called strong men like Trump would crumble under the daily realities faced by immigrants, women, and transgender individuals. Aaron's words reflect a broader unease within Europe, where many fear the normalization of far-right rhetoric. Germany, a country acutely aware of the dangers of such ideologies, has seen parallels drawn between Trump's actions and the rhetoric of Nazi Germany. For example, Austrian leaders have noted the troubling use of terminology reminiscent of Hitler's rise to power, such as references to false counselors, a title Hitler adopted before becoming the Führer. These warnings emphasize the need for pro-democracy parties to unite, transcending political affiliations to uphold the principles of European unity and democratic governance. Looking beyond rhetoric, Trump's legislative actions have had significant implications for America's standing in the world. Within days of taking office, Trump signed a series of executive orders that alienated the United States from its allies. One of the most consequential moves was withdrawing the U.S. from the World Health Organization, WHO. Trump accused the organization of mishandling the COVID-19 pandemic, a claim laden with irony given his own administration's disastrous response to the crisis. Trump's infamous statements about the pandemic, including his suggestion that injecting disinfectant could combat the virus, underscored a troubling lack of competence. Trump's withdrawal from the Paris Climate Agreement marked another significant blow to international cooperation. The agreement, first negotiated in 2015, represented a global effort to curb greenhouse gas emissions and limit the devastating impacts of climate change. By exiting the accord, Trump aligned the U.S. with only 3 other nations, Iran, Libya, and Yemen, effectively abandoning leadership on one of the most pressing issues of our time. Trump dismissed concerns about climate change as overblown, mocking scientists and activists who have warned of the planet's warming trajectory. His rhetoric reduced the existential threat of rising sea levels and extreme weather to a trivial matter, framing it as a hoax designed to undermine the U.S. economy. NATO also became a frequent target of Trump's scorn. His claims that NATO allies were failing to meet financial obligations were coupled with a fundamental misunderstanding of the alliance's purpose. Trump repeatedly exaggerated the U.S.'s contributions to NATO and Ukraine, failing to grasp the critical importance of transatlantic unity in the face of Russian aggression. His inability to differentiate between economic blocs like BRICS and military alliances like NATO further exposed his lack of preparation and understanding. World leaders have not been silent in the face of Trump's actions. Denmark's prime minister responded firmly to Trump's bizarre suggestion that the U.S. purchase Greenland, stating unequivocally that Greenland is not for sale. The absurdity of the proposal highlighted Trump's transactional view of diplomacy, one that prioritizes short-term gains over long-term relationships. This pattern extended to Trump's relationship with prominent tech leaders and billionaires. During his inauguration, figures like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and Tim Cook were prominently seated, symbolizing a troubling convergence of wealth, power, and governance. Critics have described this as oligarchic behavior, where the wealthy exert disproportionate influence over public policy. Joe Biden, in his final address as president before Trump's inauguration, warned of the dangers posed by oligarchy. He cautioned against allowing wealthy individuals to dominate government decision-making, a scenario that undermines democracy and concentrates power in the hands of a few. The sight of tech CEOs occupying privileged seats at Trump's inauguration underscored Biden's warning. These figures, whose companies wield immense control over global information, were positioned as central players in a government increasingly aligned with corporate interests. Trump's tenure has also drawn attention to the erosion of democratic norms in the United States. His relentless attacks on the media, judiciary, and electoral processes have emboldened authoritarian leaders worldwide. The normalization of such behavior poses a significant threat to global stability as it undermines the credibility of democratic institutions. Europe, with its painful history of fascism and authoritarianism, has a unique responsibility to resist these trends. Leaders must act decisively to uphold the values of democracy, equality, and human rights. The stakes are clear. Allowing Trump's ideology to go unchallenged risks legitimizing a worldview that prioritizes division over unity and power over principle. Europe's leaders must remember the lessons of their history and stand firm against the forces of authoritarianism. Resistance is not just a moral imperative, it is a necessity for safeguarding the future of democracy.